you weren't an architect, what other things might you have done?
Well, of course, my dad was a structural engineer, but as I said, I wasn't that great in maths, and I really liked the construction end of it. So I probably would have been a general contractor. Of course, I might be out of work now too, but anyway, general contractor, I'd say.
Boy, and that's closely related to being an architect.
Yeah,
huh?
right.
Boy, and you've been married for a long time.
Yeah, 47 years.
Wow. And do you have children?
I have two daughters. No grandchildren yet, but we'll see.
But you're hopeful?
Well, I'm always hopeful.
These are a couple of questions I shared. I told a couple of friends of mine that I was doing an interview with you, and we had a couple of very interesting questions come in, but I thought this was a good one. Over all the years of your experience, what's your favorite time and period of work? Like, for example, does the '60s resonate with you the most, or the '70s or '80s, or can you point to an era that you feel really good about?
Well, the whole mid-century area, and there are highlights and lowlights in every one of the decades, really. So it's pretty evenly spread. I mean, we had some really wonderful clients, people that cared, and projects that turned out great, and then some that maybe weren't quite that great. So it occurred in every era, every 10 years. So I can't say that this particular, well, we had the governor's residence in '74, which was ended up kind of a tragedy in a way. The state of California sent out notices to architects to open competition, send in photographs, which Buff and Hensman did. At that point in time, I wasn't working for them. I had worked for them initially, and then I worked for other architects, and I was within one in Santa Monica area. And by golly, they got the call, you won the competition, you're going to need to design it for Reagan and his wife.
Wow.
And so I got the call, Dennis, come back. And I was in the middle of building a 12-unit condominium in the water, virtually in Malibu. And I couldn't desert the company that I was with, so I worked basically 60-hour weeks for about 6 months, and got that completed, and then went with Buff and Hensman, and that was quite a neat thing until it was done, and well, they had the elections, and then Jerry Brown was elected, and Reagan, of course, was going out. And even though the site was donated by supporters, he wanted to tear it down. Right. The state architect proved that it would cost more to tear it down and restore the site than it would be to finish it, so they allowed it to be finished. But he had to project the austerity image. He slept on a mattress in an apartment and drove a Blue Plymouth, so that didn't suit his image. So it just sat there, and it ultimately got embroiled in politics, and it was never used as a governor's residence. And ultimately the state sold it for $1.3 million. And it's just a 12-acre site on the American River. Oh boy! And how big was the house itself? Oh, it was 10,000 plus, and it was designed to be a governor's residence, and it had all the things and the places for security and the site, and it was gorgeous. But it was sold to a developer, and he wanted to put condominiums, and of course they wouldn't let him do that. So he and his wife just lived there, and she's offered it to lease to Governor Schwarzenegger, but his house is bigger than that. So what is that house? What does that house resemble? Does it resemble the Coppersmith residence? Does it resemble like more of a Hernandez look, or? Well, neither. The criteria was that it was they had a whole program written out for us in advance, and it was to evoke the Spanish mission or look, Spanish. Right. That's right, Spanish tile roof. So the first plan that we did was a little too much glass and a little too, security-wise it might have been a problem, I guess, but it was a great design, but they wanted more of the mission look. So we ended up with the big sloping tile roof, and it was a great house. It was still, it was a huge courtyard, accommodating hundreds of people for large groups or small groups, and the governor had their own wing and so on, but it had to be Spanish. And so it had mission tile roof, it had heavy stucco and masonry and beams, big copper beam, big beam caps on the end of the glue laminated beams that were, you know, a couple feet high.
Wow.
So it was a bittersweet. I mean, we got the job, it was built, but it was never used. So it's, in a way, it was kind of a sad ending of the story.
It doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like it looks, or it would look like a Buff and Hensman home, Buff Smith and Hensman home. Does it look dramatically different from what we know?
Well, I mean,
style-wise,
the firm responded to the site and to, like, we did houses in Palos Verdes, 2 or 3 really nice houses in Palos Verdes, and they had low-pitched mission tile roofs, and they were contemporary, and they had glass, and they did all the other things are right, and the beams and the trim lines and all that stuff. Right. But sometimes you have to conform to, in that case, it's a zoning requirement. In the estates, you have to have that mission tile, and you have to paint it white and things like that. So in that respect, the governor's residence resembled those, but it obviously is not a Coppersmith or a Hernandez with the all white stucco pristine look.
Right. So this is our last question, Dennis. Do you have a favorite client and client story?
Gosh. Oh. There's so many, you know, I can't really put one above the other. We've had, you know, as I said before, wonderful clients on projects that stand out in my mind, but I can't just say this is the best one of all. I mean, the whole gamut. I mean, you know, 50 years is a long time, and
that's for sure.
You can't discount one and put one above the other. In my mind, I can't come up with. I'm very pleased that Sandra Allen and her husband have chosen to, you know, keep my house that I did, you know, pristine and just as nice now as it was when it's built. In fact, in many ways better, you know, and that's probably the highlight, you know, to see my first one preserved. You know, it's still here and it's better than ever. It's still standing. It looks beautiful. So, you know, that probably would be the best experience, you know, the most satisfying. That my own first house is still here and looking better than ever. Awesome. So I have Sandra and her husband to thank for that, and hopefully the things that we've done will keep it around for another 50 years. Excellent. If people want to get in touch with you, can you tell us what your website is? Yeah, it's easy, buffsmithandhensman.com. And we're on Colorado Boulevard across from the Annandale Golf Course, and that's our building. Unfortunately, the current landlord doesn't keep it up very well, but we're there, second floor, and be happy to, you know, talk to anybody and help them, you know, with any projects they might have in the area. Great. Thank you so much for taking some time with us. Thank you, Lee, for asking me. I enjoyed talking with you, and hopefully we can work together maybe on one of our projects. A number of ours are on the market now, so yeah, that's for sure. And undoubtedly others will come on, so hopefully it'll work out. Great. Thanks very much. You're welcome.